All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is Christopher Kraus, your Learning and Development Specialist at Embraer, and I want to welcome you to our remote wellness webinar. This week's topic is ergonomics and you, and I'm going to introduce our guest speaker in a second, but really quickly, a little bit of housekeeping. It looks like I think we've all started this. Has everybody muted their microphones and disabled their video? If you haven't muted your microphone, it looks like everyone's disabled the video, but if you haven't muted the microphone, just go to that little microphone icon and click it. Make sure that it's off. The session, just as a reminder, is being recorded, and we do that so that we have it available for people that are not able to be with us at this time. It'll be up on Empower in probably the next couple hours. And if you have questions for our guest speaker today, I ask that you hold off to the end. So if you could just take some notes, grab a piece of paper, a pen, pencil, crayon, whatever, and write down your notes. We'll have some time at the very end for Q&A. And as always, we're going to have that post-session survey. We'd like to get your feedback, and we'd like to hear what you'd like to see for topics in the future. So with that, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker for today. He's been with us before, and we're happy to have him back again today. We've got Joe DiMattis on the line. Joe is our United Healthcare health coach for Embraer. So Joe, welcome back.
Thank you, Chris. Hello and welcome everybody to our presentation on ergonomics in you, brought to you by United Healthcare and Be Well. As Chris said, I'm Joe DiMattis. I'm the health coach for Embraer. I've been with the account now for, this is the third benefit year, so since beginning of 2018. Been in my role as a health coach for 7 years. If you're new to today's webinar, welcome, and hopefully you guys will continue to come back and gain any information I give. And if you've attended before, welcome back. Glad to have you. So during this presentation, I'm going to provide you guys with information on ergonomics and tips and strategies that you can use to improve your environment at work. Specifically, guys, so we're gonna cover, what is ergonomics, what are musculoskeletal disorders, also known as MSDs, what are causes of musculoskeletal disorders, how to recognize those signs and symptoms of the MSDs, ergonomics in your workplace, solutions to workplace hazards, tips for prevention of ergonomic disorders. So let's get started. So what exactly is ergonomics? So if you guys would, I'm going to give you like 20 seconds. If you could just type in the chat log, what do you think the definition of ergonomics is? Or what does ergonomics sound like to you? Ergonomics can be defined actually a couple ways. The applied science of equipment design is for workplace intended to maximize productivity by reducing operator fatigue and discomfort, or design factors is for the workplace intended to maximize productivity by minimizing operator fatigue and discomfort. But the easiest definition, and one that you guys should be thinking about as we go through this presentation, is simply the science of designing the job to fit the worker, rather than physically forcing the worker's body to fit the job. Proper ergonomics can help reduce or prevent musculoskeletal disorders, or MSDs, as I mentioned a little bit ago, which are disorders that affect the muscles, nerves, blood vessels, ligaments, and ligaments, for those of you who don't know, connect bone to bone, and tendons, and a tendon connects muscle to bone. And where the ligaments and tendons come together, that's known as your joint. Some examples of these disorders can include, and you may be familiar with some of these, carpal tunnel syndrome, tendinitis, which results from overuse, rotator cuff injuries of the shoulder, inflammation of the elbow, which is known as epicondylitis. And the most common ones are typically strains, muscle strains, and low back injuries. But work-related musculoskeletal disorders, they're the most frequent cause of lost or restricted time at work. So now that we know, what musculoskeletal disorders are, let's take a look at what might cause some of these. Workers in many different industries, you can be exposed to many different risks at work, and some of these include, lifting heavy items, bending, awkwardly reaching over your head, pushing and pulling heavy loads, working with awkward body positions, typically like twisting, and performing the same or similar tasks repetitively. And that's the stuff that causes, repetitive use injuries. So some signs and symptoms. It's important to recognize the signs and symptoms of an MSD early as possible to prevent serious injury or permanent damage. People at risk for MSDs may experience some of the following signs or symptoms. Numbness or a burning sensation in your hand, particularly, when you're typing for long periods of time. Reduced grip strength, swelling or stiffness in the joints, pain in your wrist, forearms, elbows, neck, even your back, dry or itchy or sore eyes from staring at your screen for too long, blurred or double vision, aching, tingling, cramping, or even just weaknesses. Although these symptoms may not necessarily lead to an MSD, but if experienced, you should always consult, with your healthcare provider. Many people that work at a desk may be at risk for MSDs, such as repetitive strains, such as, we talked about these a minute ago, carpal tunnel syndrome, eye strain, fatigue, and discomfort because of the way that their workspace is set up. Now, this slide here, this might be the most important, and again, this presentation will be available after. If you want to take a picture of this, that's fine, but I'm going to go over all the steps here. So to decrease ergonomic issues at your desk, we all want to start with our chair. So what you want to do is you want to sit back in your chair as far as possible. You want to adjust until your feet are flat on the floor and parallel to the floor. Your hips and knees roughly 90 degrees, and you can see by the illustration there, it has 90 to 120. You want to adjust your seat back to an angle of 90 to 110, even 120 to relieve pressure. And if possible, consider a lower lumbar support tool. And you could even use a towel. You want to adjust your arms until they're rested, until they achieve a degree of 90 to 100 degrees in the elbow, while your shoulders are down and relaxed. A lot of us, when we sit and type, we tend to shrug. That creates tightness in our traps, which can then lead to, neck stiffness. Next, let's explore the actual desk. For your keyboard, you want to sit as close to the keyboard so that your upper arms hang in a relaxed position, shoulders relaxed, and the keyboard should be angled slightly downward if possible to promote straight wrist. Your mouse should be close to you and not have to extend your arms to reach your mouse, so you want to have it close by. You may also consider purchasing an ergonomically friendly keyboard and or mouse for added benefits. They also have the wireless ones. Once your keyboard, mouse, and chair are in a comfortable position, let's make sure that your body is centered so that you're aligned with them. So when you position your monitor, your eyes should align with the top 1/3 of the screen, as you see by the illustration there. The distance between you and your monitor should be roughly an arm's length apart. And if possible, a hand-free headset should be used instead of a handheld phone. But in any workplace, change of posture is a key component to good ergonomics. Some places allow, a sit and stand workstation. That's ideal. And if you can't have a sit and stand workstation, always remember to get up. I tell people, try to stand up every hour, walk around for a minute or two just to promote circulation, give your eyes a break. If you drive extensively for work or even outside of work, you want to make sure that you fit your car so you can drive in a way that maximizes the natural ability of your body to move and respond to physical stress. Research has linked long hours behind the wheel to back pain by not having your seat properly adjusted, greater risk for low back trouble than sitting and standing job activities, believe it or not, and increased frequency of discomfort with the number of miles driven annually. Studies show that those who drive more than 20 hours per week or more, you're at an increased risk for work-related MSDs. Causes of driving-related ergonomic issues include poor posture, such as poor personal habit or improperly adjusted seat, as I mentioned a little bit ago, stress or tension, static or extended postures, having the wrong size vehicle, maybe the interior is too small, poor road conditions and vibration. There's many ways that you can make sure that your vehicle is ergonomically friendly. And some of these include adding a lumbar support, and I like to use a pillow. It doesn't have to be really, really big, or even a small rolled up towel to put right at the lumbar curve to help minimize back pain and stiffness. Removing any items in your pockets, try to never keep your phone in your pocket. With guys, we tend to have a wallet that can tilt our hips even by an inch or two, over an hour or two drive can really cause tightness in your hip flexors. Position items that you need for minimized reaching, utilizing cup holders, things like that to hold your phone. Adjusting your mirrors to minimize neck strain. Tilt your seat back to 100 to 110 degrees to release pressure on your lower back. You want to position your steering wheel about 10 to 12 inches from the driver's chest bone. And you should also keep both hands on the wheel, unless you're shifting, that is, and keeping your arms relaxed and in a comfortable position. And changing your hand position frequently also can help improve circulation, reduce fatigue and numbness. And anytime you're holding the steering wheel, you want to grip it lightly. Avoid that death grip. And if your vehicle sits up high, don't consider adding a step or a running board rather than jumping down, because when you've been seated for a long period of time, putting all that pressure down on your heel or your foot, that can cause issues with your spine. And then lastly, if you're driving long distance, try to alternate longer drives with short drives by taking frequent breaks. This would be if you're traveling 6, 7, 8 hours, road trips. That's what they're typically talking about. Interventions that may address injury risk include modifying existing equipment, making changes in work practices, whether that's purchasing new tools, other device to help make the task simpler. Controlling a hazard as its source is the best way to protect employees. So for those that are, out in the production line or in the logistics. Engineering controls, implementing physical changes to the workplace or the environment, which eliminate or reduce the hazard. Some of these examples, they can include, a device to lift heavy objects, or repositioning a work table to minimize, the twists and turns. Administrative and work practice controls establish efficient processes or procedures, such as requiring that heavy loads are only lifted by 2 people, or staffing floaters to promote periodic breaks. And the bottom portion of the pyramid is personal protective equipment. Wearing correct PPE may help reduce exposure to ergonomic related risk factors. And these would include, masks that, a lot of us are wearing right now, even though we may not be required for our job, but, due to the COVID-19 situation. It is shown in the pyramid, as you get closer to the top, the interventions become more effective. But however, in some cases, personal protective equipment or administrative or work practice controls may be more appropriate than engineering controls. So let's take a look at these 3 solutions more in depth. First, let's start at the top with engineering controls, which are the most desirable solutions when possible. And these solutions implement physical change to the workplace, which in turn can eliminate or reduce the hazard on the job or task. Some examples of engineering controls include, either using a device to lift or reposition heavy objects, repositioning a work table to eliminate excessive reaching and enable neutral postures, adding steps or running boards to company vehicles that sit high up off the ground, or in the production line, you see the steps if you've gone out there, steps to get into the plane. Redesigning tools to enable neutral postures, and implementing sit to stand workstations in an office. Sometimes, these solutions, they're not always possible, and we have to look for other ways for the solution, which brings us to the next section of the pyramid, administrative and workplace controls. So what are these? Administrative and workplace controls. These are solutions that establish efficient procedures and processes. These types of solutions, are appropriate when engineering controls that can't be implemented, or when different procedures are needed after implementation of new engineering controls. In the list, as you guys see there, requiring that heavy loads over a certain weight are only lifted by 2 or more people to help eliminate back pain and strain and things along those lines. Establish systems so that workers are rotated away from tasks to minimize the duration of continual exertion and repetitive moments and awkward postures. We talked about doing things repetitively over and over. That's what leads to wear and tear on the muscles, joints, strains, and tendonitis. Staffing floaters to allow workers to take breaks periodically. Establishing a policy for workers to either stand or stretch periodically throughout the day, which will greatly help, with mental breaks and in helping with circulation. Properly using and maintaining power tools, or establish a stretch and flex policy. And which brings me on Tuesday to Employee Appreciation Day. We have an excellent presentation on office yoga, which are just some simple stretches and things that you can do at your desk. You don't need to change clothes. So highly recommend you guys keep an eye out for that on Tuesday. And when engineering, administrative, or work practice controls that are not appropriate, personal protective equipment must be used, which is the bottom of the pyramid. PPE, or personal protective equipment, which I just said is at the bottom. That certainly doesn't mean that PPE is unimportant in avoiding MSDs, even though they only have a limited effectiveness when dealing with ergonomic hazards. PPE is worn to minimize exposure to a variety of hazards. In some of these types, gloves, footwear protection, eyewear protection, such as, goggles or safety glasses or even computer glasses, protective hearing devices, such as, earmuffs, earplugs, hard hats, harnesses, respirators, masks. We're all getting to use those. It's crucial to understand what types of PPE are appropriate for the hazard, as well as making sure the equipment is free from damage. If you're unsure or have additional questions about practices at your location, always refer to your safety management department. Stretching is a crucial part in helping reduce and preventing musculoskeletal disorders. If you got to attend, it may have been my second or third webinar. We did a stretch for health. Took you guys through some stretching at the end. You can always, go back to the database where you guys have these presentations uploaded. It's an excellent routine that you can do. It only takes, 5 minutes. When you go to the gym, it's almost second nature to stretch before and after to avoid injury. Well, the same goes for injuries at work. Whether you work in construction or in a factory, whether you're lifting heavy objects for the majority of the day, you can almost think of this as similar to lifting weights. You should always stretch before and after lifting. So, why not stretch, before and after lifting heavy objects, or even just before and after work? I know what everybody's thinking. You might sit behind a computer and you're not lifting every day, but as we talked previously in the presentation, there's ergonomic hazards, just by being at your desk. You can stretch your hands, your arms, your neck. You can get up to move around, as we said, to help circulation, to help avoid conditions, such as, sore back, carpal tunnel syndrome. Some areas that you should address in any stretching program, whether it be before, during, or after work, you want to focus on your neck, your back, arms, hands, fingers, and legs and feet. Now, I know our massages, are obviously on hold due to COVID, but, in the event that, if we can ever get the massages back, you can tell them what areas that you want focused on, and they'll cater to that. So obviously the folks in production line may have different needs that address, from folks that are in the office. One thing you could try as a work practice control is getting your coworkers together in the morning for a little stretch break or for a walk break during lunch. Have a new coworker lead it each day, and try to keep things interesting. And in the long run, this can help avoid MSDs, but also the positives, it can help connect you to your coworkers. But always make sure you consult your doctor before you start any exercise or stretching program. Always. In review, some important tips to remember about ergonomics in the workplace. Ergonomic hazards may lead to MSDs, those musculoskeletal disorders that we talked about earlier. Early recognition of hazards as well as the signs and symptoms of the disorders. That's crucial. Early recognition is key. Ergonomic hazards, whether we want to believe it or not, it exists in all types of workplaces, whether you're out in the production line or whether you're sitting at the desk. All those can take place. The 3 levels of ergonomic solutions are engineering controls, administrative and workplace controls, and then personal protective equipment. Always stretch before, during, and after work, even if it's to get up for a short walk, do some stuff at your desk. And then as always, you always want to consult your physician, before you do any stretching or exercise program, just to get that clearance. And then to assist people in improving health and well-being, as always, I've talked about this at the end of every presentation. United Healthcare, we offer a comprehensive portfolio of wellness programs, services, and products that are included in your plan at no cost. We've talked about EAP. You guys know to do your Rally Health Survey to earn your $125. Your visit your primary care physician for your annual physical or well woman exam to earn your $125. We have, the Sanvelo app, which is great if you're having trouble managing stress, anxiety. We have the maternity support program, the Real Appeal, which is the 52-week virtual weight loss program. And all these resources, these are uploaded to ADP. But as always, you can always reach out to me. Here's my, I'm available 9 to 5 every day since I'm working remote currently. And I have my email in there. And also going forward, you may have saw an email for this from communications. If you take part in 3 telephonic or email coaching sessions with me, you can earn a $25 gift card. So great incentive to work on your health and wellness goals. And any questions? And then I'll put the QR code, so make sure you take the survey at the end.
And guys, if you have questions for Joe, just unmute yourself and go ahead and ask the question. If you prefer to use the chat, go right ahead. I am watching the chat right now, so if you have a chat question you'd rather me ask the question for you, I'm happy to do it.
And if there's anything private that you want to talk about or in more depth, you can always reach out by email too, whatever.
Hi, this is Ophelia from Mesa. A question here. Do you have identified items like, for example, a keyboard, a mouse, for us to get like a approved ergonomic?
You mean like, does United Healthcare have that? I mean, I have. If you have any, I have ones that I can recommend, but we would not. United wouldn't be able to purchase that. But I do have some resources where I can send you of a good ergonomic mouse, keyboard, ones that I've researched in the past, if you'd be interested in that.
Yes, like examples of what is recommended for ergonomics.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And also for chairs.
What about the chairs?
And the same for chairs, like.
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah, there's some good ergonomic chairs out there. At least, now that we're all working remote, there's some good ones that have the lumbar support built in.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Hey, Ophelia, this is Doug from Melbourne. Keep in mind that a lot of this is going to sound terrible, but a lot of businesses are not going to make it through this pandemic, right? And so the furniture from those businesses are often available at liquidation centers. So you can, right now, if you're looking for a really good task chair or office style chair, you can buy them like for pennies on the dollar right now. Just look online, Facebook Messenger or Facebook Marketplace. You can find really good deals on, like, I'm talking Herman Miller chairs that would normally be hundreds or even thousands of dollars a piece. They're selling for like $50 to $100.
Yeah, good quality ones too, Doug.
Yeah, and they'll last longer than you and me put together.
Thank you.
Hey guys, keep the questions coming, but in the meantime, if you could, while we're asking the questions, just take your phone, open it up to the camera, and point it towards that QR code that's on the screen right now. give us your feedback on the session today, and as always, for topics for the future. I think you'll see that every session that we've had between May and today, every topic has been a direct result of feedback that was given. Well, Joe, it looks like we don't have any other questions. Give you a couple more seconds, guys. If you have any more questions, just unmute yourself and go ahead. All right, I think we're going to give you 3 minutes back on your time. So well done. Joe, as always, thank you so much for being a part of this today. This is really, really good information. And we will see you all next time. Remember, we've got a lot of stuff going on for the Employee Appreciation Week next week. So look for those emails that went out. If you haven't already signed up for things, the emails went out through corporate communications. You'll see them again on Monday. We're excited to have all these things going on. And until then, have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys. Stay safe.
You too.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you. Have a good day.